Early this morning, we heard reports that Vincent Kennedy McMahon was looking to exit the fight game once and for all. WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 40 Philadelphia. WWE, UFC, TKO, Endeavor, whichever banner you want to place above Vincent Kennedy McMahon, he's looking to leave it all once and for all. Now, that was reports that came out, nothing confirmed. But just 15 minutes ago, TKO Endeavor released a statement. Vince McMahon has sold 8.4 million shares of his TKO stock. That is 30% of McMahon's total holdings and are worth $700 million. Something big is at play here, obviously. You just don't go to your local bank and take out $700 million. Your normal everyday transaction isn't for $700 million, right? Strategically placed at 8.4 million shares. Hours after reports surface that you're looking to leave the game entirely in just a few months. December, January, February, March, I believe WrestleMania's early April, about 4 months approximately. Something bigger is at play, and I've always said, I don't think Vince McMahon has given up this football dream, this football bug, and I still think he's in cahoots with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And Johnson just merged his XFL once Vince McMahon's XFL, and I still believe that's his baby. And somehow, quietly, it goes over to The Rock. And then Dwayne Johnson does this merger with the USFL, I believe. I'm not saying it has to be football related, but Vince McMahon has something big at play here. Because he just cashed in on 30% of his entire stock. 8.4 million shares cashed in, worth $700 million. If you're wondering, he now owns just under 20 million shares, which is valued at $2 billion. So still enough shares to put his grandchildren's through college. And then some. But to dip under 20 million, to just in one transaction unleash 30% of your entire holdings, something big is at play here. And Vince McMahon is always 7, 8, 10, 60 steps above everybody else, ahead of everybody else. This dude is always playing chess when everybody else is still on the checkers board. That's how McMahon is able to find loopholes in every situation. That's how he's able to escape any and all situations. That's why it always seems he's like a cat, got 9 lives, and then he keeps adding them on top of the 9. That's Vince McMahon. He's always masterminding or concocting something. Something big is at play here. But I think what this all tells us is the reports or at least a lot of us, quote, insiders who do have, quote, sources of any sort, what we were hearing this morning, this pretty much tells BC this is pretty damn true. Vince McMahon is out WrestleMania weekend. Is that right before? Is that right after? They like to make these big decisions right after WrestleMania, if you've noticed. The big deal with Endeavor, actually, wasn't that right after WrestleMania? So that also tells BC maybe this was always supposed to be just 1 year with Ari and Vince, making sure they get the TV rights deals and other deals in place. The Saudi Arabia, you saw Vince McMahon there, firsthand doing interviews with his Kane and The Undertaker. Take care of all this business and wrap it up in 1 year. Because I'm sure Endeavor is gonna be more than happy to see Vincent Kennedy McMahon ride off into the sunset. Because it's like a dark cloud hanging over Endeavor. Every time Ari has to speak, he's talking about how Vince McMahon could be a problem in the future. It's almost like he's preparing everybody. You're probably going to hear bad stuff. Hopefully this doesn't affect how you view Endeavor or the appeal that TKO has. And of course, that's not good for business. Vince knows this. Ari knows this. They are strategically setting up for Vince's exit. I know we've been talking about this for months, but this 8.4 million shares, 30% of your holdings, $700 million, snap of a finger, blink of an eye, winds up in your account. You have big plans going forward. You dipped under 20 million shares left. I believe that over the course of the next 4 to 5 months around WrestleMania, you're going to see these big chunks. 3.5 here, 7.1 here, maybe a full whopper of an 8 to 10 million shares, another 800 million dropped into the account of Vincent Kennedy. But it looks like Vince McMahon is absolutely on his way out of TKO, Endeavor, this whole fight game. He's got bigger fish to fry. I think he's got bigger plans and he wants to move off into the sunset out of the wrestling business. Now, for those that are throwing parades, guys, thinking the WWE product will be better, guys, he's basically out creatively for the most part. A decision here and there, some really big things, okay. But you got Paul Levesque McMahon like a Clorox wipe, 99.99% of these shows. And Paul Levesque McMahon is producing the worst ratings in Monday Night Raw history. The last month, 1-4, 1-4, 1-3, 1-5. The average has been under 1-5 for the last month. Raw, WWE has never seen numbers like that. So you can say it's going to take a long time, give it time, BC. Well, we have no choice. Of course we're going to give it time. But guess what? All of the changes that need to be fixed, that's in one day. You don't need time for that. That's literally a blink of an eye, snap of a finger. You got to change things. That's not undoing what Vince created for years. These are things that absolute creativity. You just have to care. You have to put the resources. You have to put effort into it. And so much of these Raw shows alone are lifeless. You can tell there is no care or effort at all. It is bare minimum. It is redundant. It is lazy. And it's just bad. And the ratings reflect that. So you can throw the party to finally get rid of Vince. Absolutely, that's going to happen. But, I mean, just hold up. RELAX, thinking that Raw and WWE creatively is just going to become a juggernaut. Paul Levesque McMahon told you himself, he's going to go to Vince. He told you this is what he does. He's still going to go to Vince when he has creative conundrums, when he's lost or puzzled or he needs guidance. He tells you he goes to Vince. You'd be foolish not to, was his exact quote. So just remember that. Keep that in mind. But it looks like McMahon is looking to exit the fight game. And I always said, once you get the McMahons fully out of WWE, maybe we can have a good company again. You know, I always loved Shane McMahon. But aside from that dude, they all got that same mindset. And they gave up a long time ago. And Paul Levesque McMahon included. They all just gave up. They all started cashing in, liquidating, and it just became about the business side of how many pennies can we obtain? Not just, it was beyond the consumer, by the way. They didn't even care about the consumer's penny. That's why they didn't care about the audience dwindling down. They were talking about bigger fish to fry. How can we claim every penny from the streaming services or the broadcast like Fox or countries like Saudi Arabia? They were liquidating and they were pulling in, still are, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. The audience, we are literally piss ants to the McMahons. That's how they viewed us for years. So it's interesting. It's a whole conversation, but this isn't one of those long-winded podcasts. So we're going to leave it at that. I have other things that I'd like to talk about as well. So I think we're going to move on and we'll go a little lighthearted. Wait till you hear this one. Because this. And then there is Logan Paul. Why, Logan? Why? Paul is facing backlash as he realizes that a lot of pro wrestling fans do not want you fondling the championship titles. Logan Paul is finding out the same thing that Saraya Paige found out many years ago. Paige and I believe Brad Maddox or Xavier Woods. Maybe it was Paige, Maddox, and Xavier Woods. But they all did the McHappy dance on the championship and relieved themselves on the championship. That's the best way I can put it. And that was leaked out. And many fans said, why? Why the titles? Was that necessary? And let's not forget that these championships, especially in WWE, they get passed around more than sunny days. So the poor wrestlers that had to, the poor ladies that had to get that title next. It's one of those things where it's like, do I even want that title now? I don't want that. I don't want to put that on my shoulder or around my waist. So there was a lot of backlash several years ago with that incident. Logan Paul, I'm sure, knows nothing about that, or it just went in one ear, out the other. He kind of beats to his own drum. It's why a lot of people like the dude, and it's also why he receives backlash like this. But Logan Paul recently, I believe this is within the last 24 hours, Logan Paul put up these, I believe, social media posts, these pics. And it literally shows Logan Paul in bed, not just with his old lady, not just with his lady friend, but also sleeping with the United States Championship. In fact, his girl is behind him. The girl is snuggling with him. The girl is cuddling with Logan. His lady is spooning him, not the other way around. He's spooning the championship. That's a funny photo now that BC thinks about it. She's spooning him, he's spooning the title. So anyway, it's all meant to be in good fun, obviously, but it's a peculiar, I can speak, situation to be in. And then the second photo, he's like on a shed or a part of his house. I don't know, but he's kind of in his slippers. Maybe it's early in the morning. He's smoking something. It looks like just a stogie, but you never know what is in there. So while he's smoking whatever, he's also sporting the championship. So it's clear he's showing you he's a very edgy champion, right? He's in bed. Not much is on him or the lady, and he's in bed with the championship. He's smoking with the championship. And then the last photo is the one where fans are like, dude, really? Really, bro? A lot of wrestlers got to hold that title after you. Even when you decide to call it a quits, that championship still is in play. It's not like the Yankees. You decide to call it quits and they retire your number. You get to keep the championship. No, that title is going to be in play. Many people, even while you're champion, are going to hold that title in segments or in storylines. You're lucky you're a heel, because a lot of times they have the heel take the title from the face. You gotta beat me to get it back. Like AEW, Jay White and MJF currently involved in a storyline just like that. But this dude posts up a photo in the shizao, that is shower in Chinese, shizao, in the shower, and the championship is bathing with Logan Paul and obviously his birthday suit. So the image is there for everybody to know that United States Championship is literally a part of Logan Paul, a parting gift for whoever gets that next. Now, of course, there's there's backlash, right? Of course, it causes controversy. Now, I know there's the side of the fan base that says no harm, no foul. It's not a big deal. Just laugh, right? Like BC is. I get it, right? I totally get that argument. However, to say that this isn't a little bit of a bigger deal, I'm not so sure. BC's take on it is this. These are championship titles. I know it's pro wrestling, right? Maybe you don't put it up there, obviously, with the Lombardi Trophy in the NFL, right? Or maybe it's not the Stanley Cup even to you. Or the stupid green jacket you get when you win the golf tournaments. What is that? The Masters. Okay, that's fine. But still, treat it like a title, like a championship. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but I don't remember the last time somebody was showering or having some sexy time over the Lombardi Trophy, right? I don't remember the last time somebody was in their birthday suit fondling the Stanley Cup or doing something totally edgy in the green jacket after winning the golf tournaments. I don't recall that. Not saying it's never been done, but I think it's probably not done. I'll go out on a limb and say it's probably not done. Right? They treat them like titles, like championship. It's prestigious. So I understand you could say he's in character and it's funny. I get it. Trust, I'm laughing. But I totally understand those that are just like, is that necessary just for a pop or for some likes or even to just get a laugh? These are titles. They do have to go to other wrestlers. And that is, that's I don't know if that could easily make people uncomfortable. That's probably not a scenario that I would like to be in, to be the next one to get the title when everybody is talking about that or remembering that. And just being the butt of the jokes. It's unnecessary. BC's take is this. If you have a title, right, have fun with it, post some funny picture. I get it. But maybe do not put it on or put it anywhere near your private parts, right? It is a championship, not a condom, right? So maybe thinking about that. Maybe there's a line as to how far you go with the championship title, right? Maybe we all just come to, maybe the locker room, right? Back in the day, they used to have what they call a kangaroo court. And the wrestlers would police themselves. And if you violated something backstage or in the locker room, you went to their kangaroo court. And like Undertaker would be the judge or whatever, Mark Henry would be the bailiff. Miz would be on trial, who knows? But maybe you do something backstage where everybody just comes to an agreement where maybe you don't do the McHappy dance, the sexy time with the championship. Maybe don't sleep with your championship butt-ass naked with your old lady. Maybe you don't shower with the championship. Have some respect because that title the very next day could be going to somebody else. And no matter how much dish detergent or hand soap or Windex you use, like a Clorox wipe, you're only washing off 99.99% of the germs. So nobody wants your private part germs on their championship when they got to hoist that sumbitch up on a Raw or a SmackDown or a Survivor Series. I don't know. Maybe, just a little bit, we can come to an agreement. Stop fondling the titles. If you would have told me this is what we'd be talking about at the end of 2023, but this is where we're at. And years ago, we were at the same conversation with, again, Paige and Brad Maddox, I believe. And I forget if that's the one where Xavier Woods was in on that or not. That's a whole nother story. But here we are at Logan Paul. In bed with it, smoking with it, and in the shower with the United States Championship. I can't tell you, and Paul Levesque McMahon is very close with Logan Paul. Logan Paul has been doing a lot of interviews lately and telling you how close he is with Paul Levesque McMahon. Paul Levesque McMahon gives him creative freedom and lets him do basically anything he wants, and that's pretty clear, obviously. But I can't imagine WWE would be happy with this, with their championship. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. That's the Backlash. Hey, that's a real story in the pro wrestling world, man. That's what we're covering. And so you're probably going to hear more about this story going forward. That's BC's take on it. And if it's up to me, we do not have to talk about that again. That'd be great. Let's move on to the AEW Dynamite ratings. Now, I actually caught this show. A few hours ago, I actually put up a review for Dynamite. We don't get to do that often. So it was really cool that I was able to do that. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. I put that up a few hours ago. Definitely check it out. It was nearly 40 minutes of a review. Very in-depth, very amplified. You want truthful thoughts on AEW Dynamite. That's exactly what I give you early this morning on that show. But I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. I thought the show was decent. I really did. I thought there was some parts that were actually damn good. But at the same token, in saying that, I was not going to be shocked if they did not pop a rating that was closer to 900,000 viewers. Right? Because last week they pulled 832, I believe, correct? I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was 832,000 viewers. So the fact that the trajectory has been going downward, or at least staying around that 800,000, I didn't think that this one show was going to give them another 70, 80,000 viewers and skyrocket them over 900. I didn't think that. It's going to take a long time for AEW just to get the viewers, their audience, their diehards that they lost back. So even though I thought this was a decent show, it suffers from the same syndrome that NXT suffers from. They can have a really good show some weeks, and some weeks back to back. But the rating for the longest time wasn't showing that it was a good show. And that's because the audience was no longer giving it a chance. They gave them several chances. They feel that the show failed them, and they just didn't come back. So every now and again, you could have a damn good show. I always tell you guys, if you have a good show, the rating will tell you that. If you have a bad show, the rating will tell you that. There are instances where you have a good show and the rating just did not pull through for you. And there's other cases where you have a bad show, and for whatever reason, the rating was spiked. So we do see those scenarios. I thought that this was one of those shows that was actually decent to even good, but might not pop a rating that sees a spike. And sure enough, they actually lost, I'd say, 28,000 viewers. If it was 832 last week, they pulled 804,000 this week. So they lost 28,000. Not a huge loss, but a loss nonetheless. Now, what I had it pegged with, I had them at about 840 to 850. I truly thought they were going to gain roughly 10 to 20,000 viewers. 832 last week, they could get up to about 850 this week. That's where I had them pegged. I didn't have them actually losing because there wasn't stiff competition last night either to affect the number. So the fact that they did lose, that shows you they do have a bigger issue on their hand. Many, actually. But if they stay their course, if they pick up with what they did last night, and they keep improving on that, keep pumping up those characters, keep telling those stories, keep driving forward. Blinders, don't worry about WWE or anybody right now. Keep kicking ass, producing the best possible shows. Cliffhangers, not just at the end of the show. Cliffhanger at the beginning to keep you engaged with the entire show that is in front of you. And of course, the cliffhanger at the end of the show to make you need to tune in next week, not just want to. But during the show, 2 or 3 other storylines should be just as captivating. This is the time where AEW has to put the foot on that gas pedal, and you do not let up. I don't care if you're going into the holidays or not, and this is where the pro wrestling world and Hollywood and everybody pretty much packs it in. No, if you're AEW, this is where you go double fold. I didn't mind at all what I saw. I was able to catch a Dynamite, and for the most part, I was entertained. Was it enough to make me need to tune in next week? Unfortunately, that is a hard no. Absolutely not. And that's what we want to get to. But no wrestling show today is making us need to tune in next week. So it ain't just AEW. AEW is just, they're in the trenches right now. And they're finding themselves right there neck and neck with NXT, even though they're on Tuesday nights. There was a time just a few months ago, we couldn't even conceive the notion that NXT would be beating AEW. Just a few months ago when Dynamite, AEW was pulling nearly 950,000 viewers and NXT could barely get over 550. It was a 400,000 viewer difference. And here we are just a few months later. And I told you guys, if AEW slips just a little bit and NXT catches some momentum, of course they did that on the backs of main roster talent, but AEW slipped a lot, and that 950 started getting closer to 750. And NXT didn't just go from 550 to 650, they started going to 750. And NXT was beating AEW for several weeks recently. This week, NXT pulled 794K to AEW's 804. So AEW won via 10,000 viewers roughly. But I'm pretty sure Tony Khan doesn't want to be neck and neck with what Paul Levesque McMahon deems his developmental system, even though we know that's a bunch of horse trash, but that's Levesque McMahon for you. But NXT and AEW right there, it's anybody's game. Tuesday and Wednesday, I understand it's different nights, but you are still splitting your audience, I feel. I feel a lot of people, 200,000 diehard fans have basically left AEW. They were roughly around 950, and now they're roughly around 750 to 800,000. Where did those 200,000 diehard AEW fans go? And how did NXT get 250 to 300,000 fans in just a few months? I find it hard to believe that all 200,000 to 300,000 left AEW to go over to NXT. So there's a lot of factors at play. The point is, both of these companies, or brands, however you look at it, AEW and NXT, they have a lot of viewers up for grabs. A lot of casuals are there for the taking. You have to give them a product and a show worthy of tuning into. Again, I'll say it a third time, I actually did not mind that show last night at all. It was decent to even good at times. Not the whole show. I ain't going that far, but there was good moments and even segments. But the problem is, too many fans don't feel like giving you another chance. How do you win them back? That's what AEW has to do. So it's interesting. But 804,000 viewers. They went down 28,000 this week. And AEW finds themselves just engulfed in the trenches, and they're trying to dig themselves out of that hole. See if they can, and we definitely hope they do, because whether you like AEW or not, I totally hear you. I see the positives, I see a hell of a lot of negatives, but a better AEW will make a better WWE, a better pro wrestling landscape, because it keeps WWE honest, it keeps Paul Levesque McMahon on his toes, and hopefully, in theory, it makes the competition makes you better. I don't know with Paul Levesque McMahon anymore either, to be honest. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. It was an action-packed, stacked, and jacked Thursday. Hopefully you guys caught all 3 uploads that BC dished out to you. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we're out. BC saying check you. Peace.